Hello and welcome to the second in our series of problem-solving programs. We've once more got three teams of three people who are waiting to know what problem they're going to have to grapple with. With me here from the Genetics Department of Nottingham University, we have Linda Taylor, Professor Brian Clark and Sue Kenrick. From the BP Research Centre, we have Professor Dennis Desty, Dave Chinnery and Roger Duckworth. And last but not least, from Rentokil, we have John Bull, Julian Wilczek and Colin Smith. But let's keep them in suspense just a little bit longer while we go over to Hilary Henson for a local radio heat of the Great Egg Race.
Radio Cleveland held their heat in Middlesbrough Station, where some eggmobiles had a problem keeping on the rails. John Fenwick's Scotch egg has some intriguing features.
What are the two little black strips for?
They're to make it stick to the track better. Originally I had problems and the wheels just spun and the machine stayed still.
So you wasted all your energy at the start?
Wasted all the energy at the start. These fit underneath the wheels and are fastened onto the frame, so when the machine goes, they travel with the machine.
And how do you actually start it?
We start by cutting a little bit of string here with the scissors, which allows the machine to move. Up to now I've been having great trouble, and the biggest problem with this design of this machine seems to be the scissors, which don't seem to want to cut the string, but hopefully this time we'll be more lucky.
4, 3, 2, 1, go!
The scissors have worked this time. It's winding up the starting blocks as it goes. And it's made it to the end, but not fast enough to please John. The machine on the right's called egg acceleration, but Barry Lockwood's egg machine is the one with speed.
So, at the end of the second round, Barry Lockwood is in the lead with 6.31 seconds. But there's been some feverish activity here over the lunch hour, and we'll see what the leading contenders, Gareth Jones and his crowd, who are at the moment at 780, or indeed anyone else can do to beat him.
Richard Roff's had some trouble with his Nunthorpe Express, so his father's having a go. But his 45 RPMs still haven't broken any records. In third place, Anthony Robinson's got to beat 6.31 to take the lead. Not fast enough. The leader, Barry Lockwood's last run. Can he go even faster? It's going straight down the middle of the track, and he's the fastest today.
And Barry's 6.31 seconds was the winning run, so he goes through to compete in the second round heats as the Radio Cleveland champion. And we're going to be seeing that shortly. But first, let me remind you of the challenge we set in this competition. It was to design an eggmobile, a machine to carry a 55-gram egg, the length of this 12-metre track in the shortest possible time. And the power source, just one small elastic band. Now, the machines had to carry everything they started with across the finishing line. And of course, that included the egg unbroken. And no catapult devices were permitted. Well, we've already seen some remarkable designs and some very fast times. Johnny.
So, let's see if our problem solvers can come up with some remarkable designs for our judges this week. Our specialist judge is Professor Ian Fells, who's a Professor of Energy Conversion at Newcastle University. Yeah. And to tell us all about the problem this week, our principal judge, Heinz Wolf.
The problem this week is a problem in fluid automation. The requirement is to construct a machine which will dispense as accurately as possible 150 millilitres into each of 10 beakers like this, drawing the fluid from a reservoir which will contain about 3.5 litres. Now, the whole procedure must be over in 90 seconds, and it is not permitted to store more than one measured volume in the machine before it is started. A further requirement is that the machine, once having been started, works completely automatically until it has filled the 10th cup, when it must turn itself off. More difficult, I think, than it sounds.
So there you are. You've heard the problem. What's your first reaction?
Petrified.
Well, you've got 3 hours, OK? Open the envelopes and clarify the instructions, and we'll leave you to it.
Okay.
While the teams are away, there's quite a bit of activity building up. So, Ian, what do you think is the single most difficult part of this problem?
Well, there isn't one single difficulty, but it's a system we've asked them to devise. That is not just filling up one cup with 150 millilitres, but the machine starts, then it's got 10 cups it's got to fill up. So it's got to dispense into each one, then it's got to stop, and it's got to get it right. So we've asked them to devise quite a complicated system, and that's very tricky.
So perhaps it's the switching device that may be the most difficult.
Yes, that could be. I think there's an interesting strategical consideration in this, because you could either choose to fill a number of cups simultaneously, even up to 10, or you could arrange to fill them one at a time. And I suspect there will be a time difficulty, because to fill 10 cups with a quarter of a pint each, that's 150 millilitres, in 90 seconds, in fact requires quite a high flow rate. And I suspect they may come unstuck on that.
You know, the real problem, you know, the heart of the problem is quite simply that you're allowed to put 150 millilitres, which we can resolve in a minute, as to how we measure 150 millilitres accurately. And then you put it in a cup like that, you produce a balance, and you put a cup on there and you fill it up until it balances, and you take it off, put another one on. Now that's the way you mechanically take it. No, well, that's the way you, that's the problem. No, it's a simple mechanical problem. You're the engineer. It's a simple mechanical problem. But do that.
You just produce it for us.
It says you're not allowed to have more than one measured amount. You can have one measured amount of 1,500 mils in there.
In the
It's not one pre-measured quantity.
Yeah,
we have 1,500 mils pre-measured, and we can dispense it in one go. Zonk into 10 simultaneously.
Yeah, because that stops it as well, because there's nothing
else. It stops it. There's nothing left.
That's true.
Right. Now, how do we solve the problem of distributing?
We can't use a sort of
I don't know about that. I can't see that yet. I want to see this in more detail first. Let's. Well, you do that. I'll see if I can see a way around it on an inclined plane.
Well, meanwhile, I think we've time to go back to Hilary Henson and the second round heats of the Great Egg Race.
So far, Malcolm McIver from Radio Stoke has made it through to the semi-finals. And who from our today's competitors is going to join him there? We have from Radio Cleveland, Barry Lockwood. Now, you may remember Barry because he came third in our last year's competition, which was the distance race. And challenging him, we have Reg Dawson from Radio Solent. And waiting for his turn, we have Chris Dakin from Radio Birmingham. Peter Parkhouse is the starter.
Are you both ready? 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Two good runs. Barry Lockwood was a time of 4.20 seconds, and Reg Dawson 4.94. Very good race.
We're 1 hour into the problem solving now, and all 3 teams seem to have got a definite method that they're pursuing. Ian, you've been looking at BP.
Yes.
How are they doing today?
Well, they've got 2 methods, as a matter of fact. One is quite an elegant method, which may or may not work. It's quite tricky. It's concerned with siphons and balancers. And then they have a fallback method, which is a little more rough and ready, but one which they feel they can tinker with. That seems to me quite a sensible thing to do. They're not going to get it wrong at the end of the day.
The fallback method which BP are using, and which the Nottingham team are also using, is to fill all 10 beakers simultaneously. And I think that's probably quite a wise decision if you want to end up something which is bound to work, may not be very accurate, because it gets over all the problems of having to move beakers past the dispensing point.
Yes, in fact, that's exactly the difficulty they're having with their first method, because we've only got 90 seconds, you see. That means if you're going to keep moving beakers past everything, you've got 9 seconds per beaker. And 9 seconds isn't as long as all that.
The Rentiger people are rather more ambitious, because they are planning a moving belt with twin siphons filling alternate cups. So they have a proper dispenser from that point of view, which dispenses sequentially. And they seem to be rather good at glass blowing. They've made siphons. I think if this works, it's going to be rather an elegant machine.
And it switches itself off with a method which I approve of, which is a candle that burns its way through a cotton. That's right. Well, at the moment, that's how they think it's going to work. So that's quite neat.
Well, as the teams carry on with the industrious work, let's go back to Hillary and some more egg racing.
4.20 seconds is the time to beat in this second race here, and trying to beat that time is our youngest competitor in these second rounds, Chris Dakin, who's a sixth former from Birmingham. And having his second race is Reg Dawson from Radio Solent. So let's see if they can beat that 4.20.
You ready, Chris? You're exactly in position. Solent, can you come back a half a centimetre? Splendid. Are you both ready? 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
So, at the end of the second race, Barry Lockwood is still in the lead with a time of 4.20 seconds. That means, unfortunately, that Reg Dawson is now out of the competition because his fastest time, 4.94, is not quite quick enough to beat Barry Lockwood. However, we've still got one more race to go here at the London Transport Museum, and Chris Dakin may still have a chance to beat Barry Lockwood's time. But it'll take them a little while to get their machines ready, so we'll go back to the problem solvers and Johnny Ball.
Well, it looks as though all three teams are definitely going to come up with some kind of result at the end of all this. How are you going to judge them?
Well, it's quite complicated. There are going to be 4 components to the mark. Rather more than half the marks are going to be awarded for a combination of how close the mean of the contents of the cup approaches the desired 150 millimeters, and the spread between the contents of different cups. There's going to be a bonus on how quickly the machine works. And finally, there's going to be about 30% of the marks, which is going to be awarded for audacity and the general elegance of the design.
And Ian, just now you were at BP, I think, seeing that they stuck to the rules. What was happening there?
Well, it was a rule that we'd had to make, and Nottingham very ingeniously suggested that if they just sawed the tops off their cups so that they held exactly 150 cc's, then anything else would just spill over the edge, you see. And so Heinz and I decided to disallow that, because after all, if this was a coffee machine, one wouldn't be terribly pleased to have to hold it still with surface tension holding it in the cup. And then we found that the BP people had sort of the same idea, which is, I suppose, fairly obvious, but they were going to put rubber bungs in the bottom of their cups to keep the level to 150 cc's. And so we thought, well, people wouldn't really want rubber bungs in their cups of coffee either. So we disallowed that. I think the BP people have now got around it in a very ingenious way.
I see.
Well, we'll see. Yeah.
No, as you say, we'll see. And hang on. The question is, you see, it's all right as criticising them, but how would you have tackled it? Heinz?
Well, I've actually played this game once and trying it, and I know one way not to do it. I'm not going to say which one that way is. The way I would do it now would be to construct a jet which would deliver liquid at a constant rate, sufficiently fast to fill the cups in the time required. I would put the cups side by side, and I would drag the cups underneath this jet at an appropriate speed, controlled by descending weight and an escapement mechanism, some kind, like a propeller, a fly. And I would disregard the water which I would spill in the transition from one cup to the other. My guess is that one could get well within 5% or so of the volume in a machine of that kind, and it's relatively easy to make.
Well, Renticle seem to be doing that. They're using that kind of system.
Well, that's right.
Is that the system you'd have used, Ian?
Well, I set this problem to my son Jonathan, the thing I often do under these circumstances. Let me show you what his suggestion was, which I think is a reasonable one. If you start off with a tank, something like that, with a drain mechanism, which normally is filled up to this with some sort of constant head device, the kind of thing you use for your for filling up your battery with distilled water. And then if you have a plunger, which is actually 150 cc's, and you push it down into there, it will displace exactly 150 cc's. But this means that we've got to have, again, cups being moved round, you see, and that's a bit... That's the tricky bit. We've got these moving cups.
I think the turntable and the indexer mechanism takes time to make.
Yes,
and I think the 3 hours militate against that sort of solution, and these people are very well organized.
Yeah.
I think there's a chance that the renticle people, by not using a circular turntable, but effectively a linear way, may achieve something along those lines.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the other two teams are using sort of a 10-uddered cow.
Well, they are, but BP still have their more sophisticated technique, which does actually move in a straight line, the mugs underneath. I think that really will be tough. And of course, they'll have to decide whether to settle for the elegant solution that doesn't do it fast enough, or the straightforward solution that does it very briskly. It's going to be touch and go, which way they use.
That's going to be quite a problem. The 10-uddered cow, which is incidentally now it's been out, is a way which I try to do during the test game. Difficulty is to get even distribution between the 10 teats, as it were.
Yes.
The surface tension and the fact that the inside of the tubing isn't water wettable, that the heads are limited, it's really very difficult to get distribution which is even 2 to 1 between different cups.
Yeah.
And they might get the mean right, but they'd lose mark on the standard deviation, the variability between cups.
I see.
But I mean, this is part of the philosophy of how such a game is played.
Well, we're 2 hours into the problem solving now, and each team, their contraption is forming, taking shape. It's a very colourful one here. Heinz, can you explain what they're doing?
Well, yes, the whole place is getting a little damp, but it's in fact not so dissimilar to the device which Ian was describing earlier on. This bucket here has 10 outlets, which are nominally all at the same level from the bottom. They're going to fill the bucket up to the point where the outlets are just above the waterline. They're then going to lower a displacing piston, for instance, could be this tin, into the bucket in order to displace 1.5 liters, hoping then that the tenths will come out through each of the individual outlets. I think it's got a fair chance of producing a not unreasonable result. I must say I also like the elegance of the color scheme, of the contrast between the green cups, the green plasticine, and the orange, nearly went in my eye, the orange bucket. It's a design of engaging simplicity.
Well, for those who are not clever workmen, we've got to keep it simple and quick. We're aiming for speed rather than accuracy, but if we've got time, we can calibrate each tube individually and maybe get a bit of accuracy as well.
Well, we have 2 possible solutions here. This is not very different from the Nottingham scheme in that it pours water briskly into 10 containers, but what these chaps are trying to do is to control the flow much more carefully than at the beginning, so that they get it properly and evenly distributed. And that's proving a little bit difficult, hence the modification that we have at the top here. But this one's coming along quite nicely, but behind me we have, what shall I say, the elegant solution. And I must say that just looking at it like that, it's not immediately obvious what's going on. Essentially, though, this is a container which has in it a device which is going to put 150 cc's into one cup and then stop. And then it's going to pull another cup past 150 cc's in and then stop. They're going to be very tight on time with this particular device. And the even more ingenious problem, as far as they're concerned, is knowing how the marking scheme works, which Heinz explained to us, they have to decide whether the straightforward one or the ingenious, elegant one, which is going to give them the most marks. And so they'll make, if I may say so, an industrial-style decision, I suspect, optimise the situation and settle for that.
We try this wedge.
Well, this is by far mechanically the most elaborate setup, and I think it's going to be touch and go whether it's going to be finished in time. But the basic principle is that there's going to be a line of cups which is going to be dragged along underneath a constant volume dispensing device by a descending weight, at least that's how I imagine it's going to be, which is going to, the speed of which is going to be controlled by this rather ambitious propeller for which a bearing is just being constructed. So I think touch and go, they've got 55 minutes or so in which to do so, but it's going to be well worth seeing when it works.
Well, things are moving along here, but we're going to move back to the egg race now to see just who is going to go through to the semi-final this week.
And in our third race today, we have Chris Dakin from Radio Birmingham in the green left-hand lane and Barry Lockwood, Radio Cleveland, racing in the yellow lane. Peter.
Okay, you ready? Do you want to come up to the line, Cleveland? You're happy there, fine. And Birmingham, you'll need to come back about a centimetre, splendid. And go forward a fraction if you wish. Are you both ready? 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
So again, Radio Birmingham failed to reach the end, and the time for Barry Lockwood was 4.30. So Barry joins Malcolm McIver in the first of the semi-finals, both of them competing for the Hartmann Fibre Trophy. Next week, to fill the third space on the semi-final board, we have competitors from London, Scotland and Derby, and we'll see which of them makes it to that final empty space.
Well, that's it. Time is up. The 3 hours have elapsed, and it's test time. And it's BP first, and you've chosen this machine to test. Is that right?
That's right.
This is your test liquid, and away you go. You want to take this from me?
I can do some bit towards this machine.
We'll stand well back.
Hello, it started.
Oh dear, we've got a leak.
Is that good or bad?
It's bad. Good, Dennis, good things go.
Right.
On 3, 2, 1, go.
That's right, it doesn't matter if you start there.
Well, not so long as we don't overrun.
And what's happening? Why are the cups tilted?
That's very ingenious.
150 mils.
Yeah.
The overflow when it's 150 mils.
The angle's calibrated to give the overflow.
And everyone's at the same angle, you hope?
We hope. Strictly by eyeball, but...
There's one coming up the other side?
Yes.
Well, that's all right. That's maybe.
That's all right.
As long as we don't overflow them all, that's the main thing.
Nearly there on the back run.
And it's got to be in within a minute or a minute and a half.
That's it, isn't it?
Now, you tell me when it stops.
You happy now?
Not yet, no.
No,
Don't
no,
stop
no.
yet.
No. You tell me when it's...
Well, it's only
They're
done.
all
That's
overflowing.
Stop.
it.
Yeah, stop.
Okay.
45 seconds.
Well, that will at least earn you marks on speed.
Now we have to measure all these amounts to see how close they are to 150 mil. Meanwhile, let's move on and see how Nottingham got on.
Let me write that down.
And Nottingham are bringing their level up to the starting point, and then we'll be ready to test them.
You got enough, sir?
You ready? Is it there? So we've christened this a decker spout, so there's 10 spouts.
Now, I have to know when we start.
Okay.
And you can give us the start, please.
I will give you the start when I release this. I've just got to steady it. Ready, steady, go. There we go. Sorry, it's sticking. There we are. Okay.
Very silent.
It is remarkably silent.
And as if by magic.
It's more or less stopped.
Good gracious me, that's very brisk. That's 14.5 seconds.
Well,
20.5
the
seconds.
parallel methods is one of their advantages of
However,
being very fast.
That's right.
The points come for the accurate measurements, and we've got to wait and see that. So, Rent-A-Kill, now it's your crunch time. Are you ready? Okay.
Are you ready to release the weight?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm on your way.
There's a weight at this end, a propeller here, cups there, and a dispenser. And say when you're ready.
When John says go, then I'm ready to go.
Ready? Go.
And you've got to wait for it filling up, haven't you, before you let it go.
You didn't charge it.
Get the you didn't even wet the camera.
Pop it.
You've still got time, because in your time, you've still got time to have another go. Do you want to pull it back and have another try?
Yes.
Hurry. Is the watch
Run it
still
right.
on?
That's right. Move it through.
Okay. I seem to be
Right,
helping.
right
I
through.
don't know
Go on,
that's in
right
the
through.
rules either.
Right through.
Well, I think that's
Right through.
It's reasonable.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I
And it
think
hasn't
there had to be a certain amount of judges' discussion
Yeah.
about this.
Yes?
Yeah.
But it's dispensing now.
It's actually working there.
No, it's not.
One side is working.
And
Well, they've undergone their test. Now we've got to measure and find out the accuracy of the results.
These are the results for BP, and as you can see, they filled all their 10 cups. Now, this is the level that we're looking for, 150 millilitres. By and large, they exceeded it a little, but they were pretty close. If this had been a coffee machine, we'd be quite pleased to have a little additional coffee. But let's see what the accuracy results really work out to. Heinz.
I fed the 10 results into the computer here, and I'm just going to press a fatal button. And they've got 46 on accuracy.
These are the results for Nottingham. And again, they've managed to fill all their 10 cups. Now, this is the 150 millilitre level, this one, and it looks to me as though they may have just got a little closer in average than BP. But let's see. Heinz, how do these results for accuracy work out?
Well, again, the button. By 1 mark, 47.
Now, here are the Rentokil results. I think they've just managed to fill their 10 glasses, but the level's a little bit low. 150 cc's millilitres comes about here. But never mind, they had a remarkably ingenious device, and later on we'll be adding marks for ingenuity, because I fear when we go to Heinz now, these results aren't going to be very high.
Well, figures look a bit sad. If I press my button now, 0, I'm afraid.
So there we are. We've got the scores for accuracy. Now we need the scores for the speed of filling and also the scores for ingenuity, inventiveness and flair. Heinz.
Well, for BP, they finished their filling well within the 90 seconds, so they scored 10 on the speed, and on flair, general appeal, we've awarded them 22, which together with their accuracy marks gives them a total of 78.
OK, and now the scores for the Nottingham team.
Well, Nottingham again scored 10 on speed, a very fast machine, which performed in 14.5 seconds. And for ingenuity, audacity, and appeal, we awarded them slightly less, I'm afraid, than BP. They've got a mark of 20. Now, this together with their accuracy marks gives them a total of 77.
And lastly, the score for Rentokil.
Rentokil, admittedly with a little hesitation in the execution of their motion, still finished within the 90 seconds, and they also get 10 marks for speed of their machine. They scored none for accuracy, and for sheer audacity, they scored 29, which gives them a total of 39.
And that makes this week's winners BP. We'd also like to thank Nottingham and Rentokil for making it such a marvellous contest. We'd also like to thank the judges, Heinz and Ian. Thank you very much. And we'll be back once again next week with another problem with 3 more teams and some more egg racing in the Great Egg Race. Goodbye.